Welcome back to today's Naval News with Subbrief. Today we're focusing again on the Caribbean Sea and the surrounding areas because of the tensions between the United States and the leadership of Venezuela. We're going to begin off the island of Trinidad and Tobago. It's one island, two nations, and we're doing some amphib operations all this week of there with the USS Fort Lauderdale and the USS San Antonio, both LPDs, full of Marines. They have the ship-to-shore vessels on board, and they're going out, storming the beach, practicing that, resupplying the beach, and coming back off again. Here you can also see USS Iwo Jima, which is the LHD that has the flat top. Looks like an aircraft carrier, but it's really small, full of Marines, designed to support the expeditionary package that is assigned to now CSG-12, the carrier strike group that's operating in the area. So Iwo Jima is staying up north of the little gulf that's there. Both of the LPDs, as we see here in this photo, credit to Flight Watcher 1, by the way, for that. And Mr. M.T. Anderson, who found the second one. This is the USS San Antonio, who is operating in line or next to the USS Fort Lauderdale, conducting these amphib operations, just practicing what Marines are trained to do in friendly territory. Just a naval or Marine amphibious exercise going on. So this is the expeditionary package right here. On your screen is USS America. It is the same class as the USS Iwo Jima. So they're very similar in capability and appearance. So you can see that whenever you have an expeditionary package like this, you'll have multiple LPDs operating with a flat top support carrier like this one. Now, these are not called aircraft carriers in the United States. These fall under a different class, under Amphibious Ready Group or an amphibious ship. And these are dedicated to supporting the Marine Corps and the Marine Corps mission. So these will be working together. This ship here will be working together with multiple LPDs like we're seeing right now. Here's some just stock footage of some of the aircraft that operate off of decks like this. This is what was going on this week, including these hovercraft that go ship to shore, bringing on equipment like this, and the Marines and all the supplies that go with it. This is what they were doing, getting ready for whatever may come next week. Let's move north of that position, staying in the Caribbean Sea though, and talk about the carrier strike group. Now it's been confirmed visually with photos like this from satellite, and credit again to M.T. Anderson with his eagle eye, finding all these little ships, that the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group 12 is in the actual Caribbean Sea south of Puerto Rico right now, and she has at least 4 escorts, as we knew she had. If you remember last week, I talked about 2 destroyers coming down from Norfolk to meet up with her, potentially relieving a 2-for-2 swap or adding a total of 6 escorts for the carrier fleet. Well, we can only find 4 escorts right now, and so it's possible that it was a 2-for-2 swap, or the 2 coming out of Norfolk had a different mission. We don't really know. All we have in front of us here is there's our carrier strike groups in the area. It has the same defense package, which is more than enough for doing any kind of operations that may be coming up very soon. Now, there is a small addition coming down out of Mayport, Florida, very close to Jacksonville, Florida. I saw a lot of news reports saying Jacksonville, which is fair. And that's the USS Wichita. This is a Freedom class littoral combat ship hauling butt down there to join the fleet, presumably, and support small boat operations. This is commonly called a offshore patrol vessel, is what other nations would call this vessel. We call it a littoral combat ship. Either way, it's very fast, and it's a really good design for the kind of mission we're doing down there, which would be interdicting drug runners and small boats that go very fast. That's what this is built for. They should have most of the LCSs operating in the Caribbean right now, and so we're adding another one to it. Now, there are 2 very important airports that are being upgraded in Puerto Rico. The American territory of Puerto Rico has 2 big airfields. One is Rafael Hernandez. The other one is the former Roosevelt Roads military base. I'm going to talk about their construction that's been going on for the past almost 2 months now on both of these airports. Let's begin in the northwest corner of Puerto Rico. This is the Rafael Hernandez Air Base, and I've overlaid 2 open source intelligence photos on top of each other so you get a better picture of what's going on there. Credit to Reuters for their new story on this, and credit to SA Defense SA for the detailed look at the new construction. So here we have the airfield, clearly with some construction going on between the parking area and the runway there. This is likely going to be ammunition bunkers or places to store ammunition, or it could be an additional taxi and parking area. It could be one of those 2 things. The idea is, or the point of this is to have more aircraft on the ground, have a deeper bench so that they can operate a wider variety and simply more aircraft out of this upgraded airbase. Or it's an airport that military aircraft also operate out of. The second one on the other side of the island, on the eastern side, is an old Navy base called former Roosevelt Roads. Former because it was closed down. I believe it still is, but apparently we're going to be operating or taking advantage of the airfield that's there by extending taxiways and a runway to include widening it enough to support bomber-sized aircraft. So more than bombers are bomber-sized. For example, our reconnaissance planes have similar, shapes and sizes, and so we'll be seeing not just bombers like the B-52 and the B-1 operating out of this base. We could also expect to see all of our reconnaissance planes, whether it's an E-3 Sentry from the Air Force or the P-8 Poseidon from the Navy. Those are all land-based, so that they can't land on the carrier, but they can operate and use this additional runway once that's finished. This has been going on since September. So these upgrades and the time and money we're spending resupplying these 2 locations in Puerto Rico tells me that we're there to stay. This type of surveillance that we're doing right now, this type of counter-drug operation in the form we see it today, is going to continue. When Venezuela is over, these operations will continue to happen, whether it's, going towards Mexico, Colombia, and maybe all the way around to Brazil. That's not going to stop. This is just the beginning. Now, I have some great video here of a P-8 Poseidon in operation. This is what it looks like to be in one of the Navy reconnaissance planes, some of their consoles and what the operators can do. I thought you might like to get this for your own personal perspective. So while the bombers, whether they're B-52s or B-1Bs, get all the news reports because it's very fancy and dramatic to have a bomber in the air, the most important vessels, whether it's pre-war, phase 1 like we are now, or if it's phase 4 and 5, when we're going in, these airplanes are very critical to identifying targets. You can't have, or you could have the bomber in the air over the target, and if you don't have a target to hit, the bomber really can't do anything. So these guys are meticulously locating all of the different military and, narco targets in Venezuela right now. And there's some great sources online that I want to share with you here. And I want to give a lot of credit to the people that do the hard work in the open source intelligence community, specifically Ian Ellis Jones, SA Defense SA, we're mentioning them again, and many others like globalsecurity.org. Fantastic website. I recommend you check them out. They've apparently worked together to build this map. This shows the location of known military bases and the units attached to those military bases, whether it's an S-300 Air Defense Battalion, like you see in the center there, or up at the top on one of the coastal islands, an S-125 Air Defense Battalion. Those units are assigned to those bases or those locations. That's how we know that they're there. Now, the U.S. military obviously has a lot more information than this and in real time. All right, now I want to show you what it looks like from the P-8A Poseidon's perspective, from the military's perspective. What I've done here is I've combined multiple open source intelligence sources on top of the Venezuela map to give you a very clear view as to what's available to us online, the public. If you find enough information composite it together the way I have here for you, you can see where each unit is and where they're actually operating from. That P-8 Poseidon airplane is doing this in real time. They're seeing this as the units operate and move around the map with labels. So you know the S-300 battalion that's moving from one position to another. While we get a snapshot of that, and this is all we have, the military sees that in real time, watches it happens. So if they need to fire and adjust, they can adjust weapons in flight now to hit moving targets. That's not a new technology, but it just shows you the level of surveillance that we have. The ability we have to identify these targets is ridiculous. It's very high. So when you see senators and other politicians get on your TV and ask, how do we know these drug runners that were blowing up in international waters in the Caribbean Sea? How do we know they're not fishermen or something else? The answer is right here. We watch them load the drugs on the boat. We watch them drive into international waters where it's legal to take that action and then eliminate them. And we document the entire thing. So there is a very high level of confidence, almost absolute, that those are the drug runners and that they're being eliminated legally, because this is a war where they're trying to harm us and we're stopping that. That's the justification. So whenever you see those questions come up, I want you to remember this, that the U.S. military is watching cradle to grave the entire operation. We didn't just find a boat in the water and destroy it. We watched the entire thing happen. So as the open source community, we get snapshots like this. The U.S. military, this is like a video that runs in real time. They can see the movements of each unit, whether it's the SA battalion there in the center of your map, or if it's a support convoy transiting from depot to base or depot to front line. It's all being watched. There are no secrets anymore in conflicts like this. And I have to say a big credit to the American public for forcing the U.S. military to get this good at surveillance and identifying targets over 20 years, at war, whether it's Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and many other places, because we don't tolerate, you as the voter and all of us do not tolerate civilian casualties. We've gotten very good at building devices that can identify, track real targets in real time while avoiding civilian targets. And that's why I'm confident every one of those drug boats that we've taken out is a drug boat and not something else. These are the tools that we have, or the U.S. military has, to win wars like this, should it come to that. So again, huge credit to all the names on your screen over there, who each had a piece of this puzzle, who built overlays like this that allowed me to just layer them up and present this package for you to help you understand better the capabilities that we have. We're very confident in all the targets that potentially may be hit in the near future in Venezuela, should it come to that. I want to caveat this one more time by saying I've been told by people I trust that there are diplomatic communications happening between Venezuela and the United States. Low level, backdoor. I don't know if it's the president's team from Venezuela or if it's another faction. I don't know that. But I am confident that there are some communications going on, and it may avert this entire thing from happening. So let's hope for that. All right, thanks for watching this week. We'll see you next week. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.